Markic from Creative Matters, and you're listening to Creative Matters on Air, where I have conversations with emerging and established creatives from all over New Zealand. I love to listen to artist stories for inspiration and ideas, and maybe you do too, which is why I've created this podcast, to inspire, inform and educate. I hope you take away something positive and encouraging from each of these amazing stories to inspire you on your own creative journey. Welcome to Creative Matters Episode 1. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm talking to Tanya Blong. Tanya is a full-time artist and mother of one, living in Muriwai Beach, northwest of Auckland. Sculpture initially formed the basis of her art practice, and these days painting is her preferred medium. Tanya is also an educator with Creative Matters and was the first person to work for me 4 years ago. We have a number of Tanya's gorgeous paintings, and we also commissioned Tanya to paint our daughter a painting for her 21st. So she's pretty special to us as an artist and a friend. Tanya, welcome to Creative Matters on Air, and thank you so much for being brave enough to talk with me on our first ever Creative Matters podcast.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting, this new podcast and everything you're doing. It's an honour to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. Can you tell us about where you were born, your childhood, and if you were a creative kid?
Yeah, so I was born in Australia to a Aussie mum and a Kiwi dad, but we moved out to New Zealand pretty soon afterwards, and I grew up in Taranaki, New Plymouth. I guess it was a standard Kiwi upbringing, really. Sort of going to the beach and playing sport and having to be home by dark kind of thing,
Yeah.
So yeah, creativity was a huge part of my life growing up. I was always a maker and creator. I think I had quite a rich inner private world, and exploring that was probably came through my drawings a bit, and sort of trying to inhabit those lives that I was imagining and trying to draw them and process them, I guess. Yeah.
So were you drawing a lot as a child?
Mainly drawing, yeah. So I remember there was like a Anne of Green Gables body of work that I don't know, I guess I was just really inspired by that movie and all the period drama dresses. And so, there was one for the woman who did the milking of the cows, or there was one who was higher society, and just always playing with those kind of themes. And then there was architecture work, always planning my house and how I'd have it, and then there was the horse phase, and yeah, so mainly drawing, and I guess a lot of paper mache making, and just kind of any normal Kiwi kid's life, though. I think it wasn't that ordinary for that time, as TV wasn't a big thing in our lives. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that the things that you're talking about actually connect quite hugely with what you're doing now in some ways.
Yeah, I really believe that, for me anyway, that everything's quite cyclic in my work. So what I was doing, even as a kid or even at art school, sort of comes around, but in a more informed and educated way. And maybe that's the same for other artists as well, I'm not sure. But for me, definitely, it sort of keeps coming up, and I don't know, they're just intrinsic to my being, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Something that's running really deep.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It is.
And do you think that was coming from sort of somewhere from where you were living, or, some influence from your family, or where do you think that came from in the beginning?
I just think it's I have a, sort of like maybe a parallel world, like an imagination that is just, processing and thinking all these things, and then much like playing out a film, maybe, I'm trying to figure out who the characters are and what the setting is, and just trying to process it, I think. Like writing a story or something.
And do you think a lot of your work, in those days even, was coming from a sort of people perspective? Were most of your drawings, human figures and that kind of thing, or home life and based on that kind of thing?
But I don't know, there wasn't, like, they weren't completely resolved. It wasn't ever whole pictures. It was just details, like figuring out the details. And I think I still am like that. Like, it's not about one thing. It's just all these details and trying to process and get the images right in my head of what the stories are. Like, it is about narrative, maybe. That's what it comes down to, about narrative and trying to resolve stories or, just process, I think. Yeah.
That's interesting. And how did your family find your sort of creative ideas? And were they supportive, or were they an artistic kind of family?
A little bit. Like, my mum sewed, and she was an amazing sewer. But I think sport was really, like, where our family was at. That was kind of what was more revered in our family. And sure, I was absolutely supported in my creative journey and, just drawing as a kid. I always had the tools I needed or anything like that. But I think accomplished-wise, it was more like, yeah, great if you made a softball team or something, But as I got older, I think there's definitely a lot more support there, especially with my, one with my dad. I do remember doing an interior design course when I was like 17, and he actually just gave me a budget and said, redo my kitchen. And for him to have that belief in me was, it was amazing for someone to really back you and believe in you. And then I think for my mum, when I decided I was going to study, which was at about 25, 26, she was really reticent. So she, sort of, and especially that time, sort of thought it wasn't a viable art career. It wasn't a viable career to make money or make a living.
Yeah.
And
I think that's really common, isn't it? Especially in that generation.
Especially back then. And so I always had that. And so, I didn't study straight out of school because of that. And then I just think, but because she didn't kind of believe in me, it was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me, because then I had to really fight for wanting that and fight to make it right, kind of thing. And so it was actually the best thing. And then in my first solo show, she drove 6 hours from New Plymouth and showed up and surprised me. So that, really cemented everything. And thereafter, every show I've had, all my whole family and friends, everyone's turned up, and I've got, quite a big rent crowd and great support. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet
it's really amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure that your mum loved what you were doing and totally valued it, but had that sort of just that concern that was so common from that generation, that you can't make a living being an artist.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm still I think that, pervades a lot now too. People still have that thought that it's not viable. And
so going back to your school days, high school, what did you actually study art, and did that sort of creative flair from your childhood come through into your school days as a teenager?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do remember my fifth form subjects were photography, woodwork, and art history. So it was, I just knew like that was where I was meant to be, and I was so sort of creative, and that's how I processed my world, kind of thing. But interestingly enough, I think I got 52% in high school C art. So definitely didn't really, achieve high standards or anything, but I still knew that it was for me, and I didn't really, it didn't really bother me.
Which is pretty amazing at that age.
Yeah.
It didn't knock your confidence?
No, not really.
Well, that's awesome.
I kind of knew. I just knew that, it was all right.
And I wonder why you only got 52%. Do you think it was trying to fit into that sort of required, boundaries of what was expected that you found difficult, or why do you think they weren't acknowledging what you were doing?
Well, I probably actually wasn't doing such amazing stuff anyway, but...
You were 15.
Yeah, 15, whatever. But, maybe it's a curriculum and they're trying to fit everything into a box, whereas art just can't be fitted into a box, It's so... How do you even mark or judge art, Yeah. It's so personal. So... Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if it's different these days. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it is a little bit different. And when you were younger, were you thinking, what you're doing now? Did you think as a teenager that that's what you will be doing when you were older?
I don't know if it was painting or being an artist. I'm not sure if I ever uttered the words I'm going to be an artist. I do remember always saying I was going to be a dancer, and I distinctly remember at the age of 8 telling my mum I was going to move to East LA and be a dancer, and I didn't care if I was going to be homeless as long as I could dance.
I think I've seen you on the dance floor, Tanya. There's a bit of potential.
Yeah, I think it's just that real, again, having a passion for what you do and knowing that if something feels so right and so good, then that's the path you're meant to take, I didn't take the dance career though.
Thankfully for us, only because we have your beautiful artwork in our lives. And then what happened after school? Did you study right through at school until year 13?
No, I left. School wasn't really for me. I was, I don't know, I guess I just always knew like what I wanted to do, and I think I was a little bit, I basically was grounded from the age of 8 upwards. But not because I was naughty, just because I was
adventurous.
I was adventurous, and I've always frothed on this world. Like, I just think it's amazing, and there's so much to explore. And even at 8, I was always sort of down the park after dark, just make believing, or so I was just ready to explore, and I left, so when I was about 17, so I didn't finish my last year, and then I just knew I wanted to go overseas, so I just worked hard for a year and saved and went to England when I was about 18, and did my OE and lived all over Britain, and travelled and came through Africa on the way home, and then basically just sort of lived in New Zealand a bit and then travelled overseas a lot.
And at that time, what were you thinking? You just wanted to see the world?
Yeah, at first definitely just wanting to see the world, but then every stint I came home I was painting and sculpting more, and I think the last stint I went and I worked on the Great Barrier Reef, and I was working on a yacht and I was painting in my 1 by 2 metre cabin. And I just knew, that's this, what am I doing kind of thing. And then a friend and I biked through Cambodia, and I had a bit of a misadventure there and fell through a floor and got a real wake-up call and just went, what are you doing, and just knew I had to study. I had to come home and study art, and that was just, intrinsic to me and where I had to be and what I had to be doing, and I did. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
And just out of interest, what were you making while you were away?
Well, when I was on the yacht, I was working on a yacht, I was carving cuttlefish. Like, I was desperate to just do art and to make, so I'd carve cuttlefish. And then,
what do you mean carve cuttlefish?
Oh, so like, and look at scrimshoring, so like even the traditional sort of art of sailors doing designs on, I think they did the back of cuttlefish actually, but I ended up carving cuttlefish, so it's like soft, it's like carving butter almost,
And so cuttlefish is like the thing that you put in bird cages, is it?
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you could what did you carve it with?
Oh, I don't know, actually probably a pocket knife.
Anything sharp.
Yeah.
And were you creating designs in the cuttlefish?
Yeah, I can't even recall what I was doing actually.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then I would paint in my cabin, like when I got the chance, which is very little.
And what were you painting?
I distinctly remember painting an Aboriginal girl. I think we'd been up in Cairns and there's a huge Indigenous population up there, and I've always been inspired by Indigenous cultures. So I think I do recall painting that, and I remember it was actually probably the first painting I sold for $50 to our marine engineer. So and that was quite neat that someone else thought it was,
that was encouraging.
All right, yeah. No, it's good.
That's very cool. And it's interesting too how that's kind of linked with what you've been doing with the Bathers collection, possibly.
Yeah. No, I think do you know what? Always, I think I've been interested in culture and diversity, and there was a time there where I would have loved to have studied ethnography, and I'm always really interested in cultures and the why different people do things a certain way or have certain traditions and the history that led up to make that tradition. And by studying someone else's culture, then you reflect on your own culture and you just understand so much more about your own history and your culture and why you do things. And so I think that's always been a thing for me and always feeds through to my work. It's not like the main aspect of my work, but it's part of the compost. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
And so after your travel, you studied?
Yes, so I studied at Hungry Creek Art and Craft School in Puhoi, north of Auckland, which was actually a small school of about 60 students in the bush, set in the forest there. I think I just knew myself really well and knew that if I studied in the city in a concrete jungle, I wouldn't survive. So we had some amazing tutors up there. I studied sculpture under Murray Gibbs and painting under Patrick Malone, who both, sort of blew my mind apart. And I remember my first year of studying, I was taken. I was like, this is it. I've found me. This is what I'm meant to be doing. And I was there day and night. Yeah, just
how amazing.
Always creating.
And where were you living then?
I was living in Dairy Flat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not too far to travel.
Yeah. No.
And so how many years was that?
That was 3 years. Yeah, it was a diploma. It was amazing. Like, it was such a supportive environment. Every show we had, half the school would turn up to support you. And it was really good for becoming a self-supporting artist, you had, if a tool broke, you kind of had to figure out how to fix it. So when I did come out of art school, it was just, it was quite an easy transition. It wasn't, wow, what do I do now? It was just, right, I'm an artist, this is what I do, and kind of got on with it.
So did you find, studying and gaining that diploma really kind of gave you the confidence to call yourself an artist or to sort of pursue a career because you had that behind you, that qualification, or was it the experience that you had through being at Hungry Creek?
It's not even the qualification, it's just expanding your mind and the way that my tutors made me think. They made me think differently about the world and made me extend and really stretch on my thinking. So I think with that, I was calling myself an artist quite early on. I was very comfortable with it because I just knew that's what was, like, every molecule in my being meant that's what it was,
which is amazing because I think a lot of people really struggle with that. Yeah. That when they can feel comfortable enough to call themselves an artist, or what needs to happen before they are actually referring to themselves like that.
Yeah, I think, we seem to put a lot of rules on ourselves of what we have to be or... but if you're making, then you're an artist. I don't think you need to even have a show or need to be making a living from it. If you identify it with it, then that's what you are.
And it's just terminology, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's what you feel inside that is the thing. To me. Yeah, for sure. So you had the 3 years there. Did you start sculpture and kind of specialise in sculpture there, or were you doing a bit of both?
Yeah, I did. I was doing both, so sculpture and painting. I did start before then. I do remember having a lot of concrete experiments out in my dad's shed, with a bottle of wine kind of thing. And then before I studied, and then when I studied, I was really, really fortunate. Murray Gibbs was amazing to extend my thinking, and he just, every week would put a fire in my brain. So that was awesome. But I was really fortunate too to work with Terry Stringer, him and his partner actually had a property up the road from Hungry Creek, and I became his technical assistant, his studio assistant in my first year of school, and I ended up working with him for 6 years.
Oh, that's great.
So that was amazing to work with someone of that calibre.
And did he find you there, or did he go down to the school?
No, we went up for a school visit, and I think I was asking a lot of questions. And but to work under him was just amazing, like to see how he he worked with gallerists, worked with clients, how he thought, his process, everything, like, and the professionalism. It was, he was a mentor for me, and it was amazing. Yeah, it was really beneficial.
And did he teach you techniques and that kind of thing with your sculpture?
Well, through his own work, like, he works in bronze, so I learnt a lot about the casting of bronzes and the patinaing and shaping and a lot of technical stuff, to do with bronze, definitely.
And you've never actually used bronze in your own practice, have you?
I did once, yeah, I've done a few. I've done a few little sculptures. My dad bought them. He funded them too.
Oh, awesome.
Very
Your dad
sweet.
sounds like a cool guy.
Yeah. All my whānau are amazing people. Yeah.
Yeah, he sounds like he's been super supportive.
Yeah, they all have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, the Terry Stringer experience. I'm just interested to know how you actually got in there, because, it is... I can imagine it would have been kind of intimidating to meet someone like him of his caliber while you were studying. And did you actually kind of push for that assistant role, or was he looking for somebody?
They actually just approached the school, and the school put me forward, which, was amazing.
Such a great opportunity.
They're probably like, take her off our hands, Yeah. She's here day and night. She needs something else.
So good though.
Yeah. And I do remember being really nervous on the first day, but they are fantastic people, and they're just open to anyone, and no, it was great.
So great.
Yeah. And we'd have amazing lunches too. Like Tim, his partner, just would produce these amazing lunches, and there'd always be someone interesting from the art field, or musicians or opera singers. There was always someone amazing joining us for lunch. And
wow.
It was just a fantastic insight into a beautiful world. Yeah.
And do you feel like he sort of helped you on your way with your own practice?
Oh, for sure. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And having opportunities like that is just so great, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he would include me in some group shows, and, with amazing New Zealand artists, and, gave me opportunities that I wouldn't have had without him. Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
So moving on from there, you went to Australia after that, did you? After you had your qualification?
No, so what did I do? I worked in New Zealand sculpting mainly for some time, maybe 5 or 8 years, I think. And then I had my son, and then we moved to Australia.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So were you working while you were with Terry as well on your own work, or were you full-time?
Yes, absolutely. No, absolutely,
Okay.
working on my own work. So
Right.
That's why it was great, because I'd be so inspired there, and then I'd come home and, I do recall always really checking myself that everything I was working on in his wasn't feeding too much into my own work, because when you're working with someone else's forms and ideas all the time, I always had to constantly check that it was, my pure thoughts and my own work, and I wasn't being too influenced. Yeah.
And do you think you would have actually been working on sculpture if you hadn't had that experience with him?
Probably not as much, because I was sort of dividing my time between painting and sculpture. And definitely working with him, I was sort of honouring that mentorship. And so when we went to Australia, I did actually just take a break, because I'd been working, I'd been doing, sort of 3 solo shows a year and group shows, and I was a bit burnt out, and my son was like 1.5 years, so I needed to, I was just burnt out.
Yeah.
So when we went to Australia, we were first living in an apartment in Northern Beach of Sydney, and so I couldn't really sculpt anyway, you couldn't really swing a chainsaw. So I started painting again, and I actually just took 5 years, the whole time. We moved to Western Australia eventually, and then I just took that whole time to play, and it was the best thing I did. Play and like printmaking and painting, and I ended up working in a private girls' school there as an art technician, and that again was such an amazing job. And I, had sort of all this exposure to screen printing and all these tools, so I would play a lot with that, and just explored and I was really influenced by a lot of artists in Australia, and especially the light and the colour there. Yeah.
Yeah. How's it different to New Zealand?
Oh, it's really different actually. And I mean, everything's different. I think we always think New Zealand and Australia is so similar, you know, culture and everything. But I think the people are really different, and the land's very different, and the light's different. So, you know, it's interesting when we first moved to WA, I thought, oh gosh, it's so scrubby and there's, you know, it's not that beautiful. Because I think in New Zealand, we're really, you know, it's on a plate. The beauty here is delivered to us on a plate. Whereas over there, it manifests over time. So you'd see it, and then, you know, 6 months later, I'd walk past the same shrub and it would be these amazing violet tubular flowers, you know, and I'd be like, hello, where did you come from? And yeah, you know, it's just a different way of seeing beauty, that it's not always right in front of you. And so, and I don't know, just their palette is a lot brighter than ours. I think we have a bit of a gothic undercurrent here, and it pervades a lot of the art. And so, yeah, you know, like it was just really beneficial for me to be there. And
do you think that inspired your use of colour?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a big part of your work, isn't it?
It is. Colour just inspires me so much. And it's that, you know, when you lay two colours down next to each other, I feel like there's a little, I don't know if other people get this, but there's like a little shift in your brain. And it's, I don't know, like a little bit of electric goes off or something. And it just gives me so much joy. It's a little charge, you know, and yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah,
well,
and light and shadow.
You do amazing things with colour. I mean, to me, that's when I think of your paintings, that is probably what I think of. You know, you seem to do things with colour and with paint that I don't see other people doing.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm always striving. I feel like I'm never quite nailing it, but I think most people probably feel like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, like I just want to push it as far as I can push it, to play with light and shadow and use colours that are, you know, unrealistic, and how you can use a shadow but have it sort of lighter than the original object kind of thing. And yeah, just really play with that tension within colour and shade, light, everything. Yeah, form, absolutely. Everything.
Yeah. So just going on to your painting, you know, I think your work is very people really connect to it, you know, the experience that I've had, and you know, we obviously have as a family, and I think there is something special and unique about the work, and it would be really interesting to know, you know, something about your process when you're painting. So where does it all start?
Oh, where does it all start?
It's a big question.
I think it starts with, like every artist, I think your history and your upbringing and your, you know, your feed of what comes into your life is the compost that makes your work. And so, you know, I think it's just all, for me, like all my travels and the way I see the world and observe the world, just comes into trying to process that and have an outlet. And I think for me too, what is really interesting, what I'm really investigating now, is rather than knowing the world like cerebrally, like through what information you received, like rather living it in a way, I think the word, is it viscerally? Like where you... Viscerally?
Viscerally.
Where you...
I know what you mean.
Yeah, where you experience it more emotively, or what I'm interested in a more of a sensory perception, so that it's more about, I guess, instinct and trying to figure out a situation or something like that by just your senses. And I think I figured out that comes from, say, I was in a bicultural relationship for 11 years, and so I spent a lot of time in Brazil, and, you know, sort of my language, my Portuguese wasn't quite up to scratch then, and or now. And then, you know, so you have to kind of decipher a lot through instinct, and I'm really interested in that. Or like when you watch foreign films, you seem to I don't know, you read things a little bit differently rather than knowing the facts in front of you. And so I think that plays a lot of part in what I'm inspired by in my process. In terms of the process, I guess I'll be inspired by something I see or a thought, and then I will sketch it. Then, but really simply, like really just an outline, and then I will, think about how that would be perceived on a large scale or a small scale, and what's important for it. I then use a projector and scale up my sketch, which
That's interesting.
It is interesting, and
why do you do that instead of just painting big? Your initial sketch?
For me, I might grid up my sketch, but you lose like a lot of nuance in that. Like I find the first impression of your thought is has all these little nuances, and it's very fresh, and I want that to be translated. Whereas if I'm trying to get something right, it never works. I'm not
totally
very good at it,
and
and also you can play with composition, and then I might also get a lot of other ideas from that, So I'm always banking ideas and recording them. And
you're more creative on the small scale in that sort of sketchy medium?
I just think because it's not so perfect, I'm not trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
And
do you find that easier and sort of proportionally to get things right if you start small?
Yeah, probably. But in the same sense, it's that drawing is just a starting point.
Yeah.
So once I project it, I'll do an underpainting. So the underpainting is really important to me because I kind of let that shine through a little bit on the edges, and I don't work tonally in the underpainting. It's just the colour that is the basis for all the colours that go on top. Yeah.
And do you have different colours for different shapes, or
sometimes
do you have any rules with that kind of thing, or is it just sort of what you feel like?
Sometimes I do one whole colour, but generally it's the figures will have different colours to the foliage or the water or and I think what I like about that is that once I do that, then all the rules are gone and I take it from there. And so quite often I'll build up the painting in layers, but then you get to the sticky point, which every painting has, that hard point where you've just got to paint yourself out of it. It's like you're always painting a maze and you paint yourself in, and then it's like picking a path of how to get yourself out of it, and be happy with the results. So, you reach that sticky point, and I'm kind of, I see it now, and I'm like, right, I see you there. And I kind of enjoy it now, I think, that hard bit. And then, I'll paint over things, or I might change a head or change an arm movement, or realize that all my figurative proportions are completely wrong, and that's when it gets quite dynamic. So the sketch is definitely a starting point. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And then when you think about your different collections that you've done recently, like starting with perhaps the Bathers collection, can you tell us a little bit about that and how that sort of formed, and what you were thinking of really when you were depicting these women bathing? Like, what was that all about?
I guess like that started from my time in WA, and spending a lot of time in water myself, and really, and also I think because we lived in suburbia over there, and I'd never really, except from growing up, I hadn't lived in suburbia for a long time. I'd always lived quite rural, coastal, and I found it really hard. So every weekend I would, sort of get as far away from it as I could, and I'd really bank those thoughts and be in nature. And I think nature for me just became like a cathedral, like it was what I worshipped and what I wanted every day, and really missed from living in Muriwai having that connection. So it was about having connection to land and connection to nature, and also playing with, sort of connection to New Zealand as well. And what part land plays in your being and like your ties, and just sort of the land owning you. And then I think coming back to Muriwai and the waterhole here and spending a lot of time there, and I've always seen water as a bit of a redemption pool or a reset, and about the slowing down of time. and just being, and it's sort of being a cleansing, cathartic thing.
Absolutely.
So there wasn't too much thought behind it. It just came out, I think. And I actually studied last year and at Matthew Brown School of Art under the tutorage of Deborah Crow, who again set a fire in my brain every week. And I really figured out why I painted those and what it is about. And that's been great to know where I'm heading with my future work.
Yeah, so that's just one step, towards where you're heading, I guess.
Yeah.
And I know that you're interested in reflection and the things that water can create. Is that right?
Well, I think I'm really interested in the slowing down of life. Everyone seems to be so fast-paced. And
why do you think that relates to water?
I think because when you enter water, you're transported. Like when you're underwater, the world stops. And, when you enter water and when you come out, you're slightly different than when you went in. So you have this, it's like a portal. And even when you're beside water and maybe you're lying in the sun does something to you, has a bit of a numbing effect. And it just slows the world down. So you live it. Maybe it comes back to that sensory living. You live in more of a sensory process rather than in your head, in your mind or your day to day. Got to do this or it's just a little bit of magic. I think. It. Yeah.
And then in that Bathers collection in particular, you had that sort of reference to a slight sort of retro vibe. I don't know if that's what you were thinking, but with the blocks and some of your paintings have that sort of, for me, connecting to the 70s. And is that going back to your childhood or just shapes that you like?
What is it about? That's I think again it's about not so much nostalgia, but I was really exploring, not that it's particularly my era, maybe again it's like trying to embody different lives, like trying to explore a life that you never lived, like I didn't have a 50s lifestyle. So maybe it's, really exploring that,
what came before.
Yeah, or like I'm really interested in how you can't live it, but what was it like? And, how did they experience it? And so I guess through painting, I do explore a lot of adventures or other lives that I can't live. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Maybe.
And I think I can see the parallels between the sort of quite architectural designs that you included in the Bathers collection with the sort of that architectural series that came next.
Yeah.
And even in the still life works that you did, which had such reference to pattern and also to certain eras, I feel.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The still life era was, the still life paintings were definitely referencing my upbringing. And, we've had the revival now of macrame and pot plants. And so maybe for some people it's sort of it's a bit diluted, but sort of before the last 5 years that wasn't really there, and it was about that, and it was sort of about growing up and sort of Taranaki, small town Taranaki, and there'd always be vinyl on the deck and smoke swirling on the ceiling. And which again maybe relates to that slower era as well, just slowing down and enjoying it for what it is.
The simple joys of life.
And then the architecture works, again I think that is just I needed a house, and so I started designing houses again of what I'd like to live here, or
and you were inspired by initially sort of some of the houses in Muriwai, weren't you? But not like you were recreating them.
Just inspired.
You were looking closely. Weren't you?
I think that's the cool thing about being an artist is you get so curious about whatever you're painting, and
you notice stuff.
You do, like your whole world opens up, and that's why I think everything's inspiring, because if you're painting chairs, then suddenly every chair is absolutely fascinating.
Exactly.
It's really cool. And then we're walking around Muriwai, sort of a daily occurrence that I do, like many people in Muriwai. And just looking at the shadow and light and architectural forms. And I love New Zealand architecture. I think, we're top of the field in the way that we build so sympathetically to the landscape. And
and Muriwai, I mean, it's not like we have sort of high-end architectural stuff happening here really, as a rule.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of our houses out here are batches.
Yeah.
So, that's still, you still found that inspiring?
Well, I think that's what I found inspiring actually, is the whole old batches, but then, the new builds that are coming up that are kind of architectural, and, that whole thing of like the batch that was there before, and kind of honouring the bones of that wood and, the lives that lived in it. And it's layered. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then with those architectural works, you still had the nature around it. The plants still featured quite heavily, I think, didn't they? Yeah. Around that work.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying that you felt like you needed a little bit of, correct me if I'm wrong, but some sort of formality in your work at a point? Or not formality, but just some, you just really, I feel like you wanted to kind of just hone in and kind of...
I think what you might be recalling is that I actually had, for many years, a rule that I never painted a man-made object, which to me sounds so crazy.
I didn't know that.
I'm sure I told you that.
No.
So crazy now. I don't know, it's just a rule I'd maybe set myself of, just honouring the natural world. But
so you were
once
breaking
I let
your
those
rules.
rules go, it was like, hallelujah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny, these rules we put on ourselves.
Yeah. And maybe that was quite cathartic, just letting go.
Yeah. And now I really love those formal lines. And
did you find that frustrating working towards, even though your architectural works are not always like exactly how they should be, which I love, they seem more sort of not formal, but more have to be painted in a certain way kind of thing, more so than your people possibly?
Well, I mean, you've got to kind of get perspective, right? And I'm not saying that I nail it every time, but you do have to get that right. And I love that because I want the viewer to wonder what's through the door around the corner, and I love them not knowing, so that your mind makes up what's not there,
So you did find it annoying if it wasn't feeling totally in perspective?
Yeah, no, I like it to be fairly in perspective, but I also like a little bit of imperfection as well. Yeah. No, they're great, the architecture works. And again, it's the same process, like sort of push and pull with, trying to figure out, does this colour go here, or does this need shade, or maybe it needs a balcony, or, just it's always that light and dark, but not even in terms of colour or shade, but in maybe metaphor, like what you can't see, or that little bit of edginess or undercurrent that makes it not so pretty, maybe.
Yeah, I totally get it. And what happens if, if I was to come to you and say, Tans, can you draw my house? How would that be?
So for me, the way I get, it's really important for me as an artist to honour and respect my craft. And I think the more I paint, that's really important for me. So there always has to be a bit of freedom there. So with commissions, I might have a few photos of, say, someone's house, or works of mine that people have liked, and would talk about price and size. And then I might do one or two works based around that. Maybe not if it's someone's house, but because I like to sell the works that I don't sell to that person. But just then, so it gives me that real artistic leeway of being able to make the decisions I need to make, and really honouring that. Whereas if someone said to me, I don't like yellow, then it changes my natural course of direction and it just ends up dead. So I'm all about honouring that. Yeah.
Well, commissions, it's tricky. I mean, I find personally a commission, it's almost like it starts with the end point or the product.
Yeah, that's a
for
really
me.
good way of talking about it. Yeah.
And for me, I've kind of realised that my artistic practice is about the process, and I like to start at the beginning and kind of see where I end up.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so starting with something that I have to make at the end, I find
it's a lot of pressure,
restrictive. Yeah, and it's not actually the way I like to work.
No,
and I've only just realised that in the last year or two.
Yeah,
and for me, that's put me off commissions in a way.
Well, I mean, that's why I think for me, I keep it really free for my journey, and
how customers don't always want that, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I just state the terms at the start, and there's no obligation to buy. Is my point, So I'm still getting my creative practice and taking the road I need to take. And for them, if they like it, fantastic. If not, then maybe something will come up down the road, but as long as I'm being true to myself, and because it's going to be out in the world too, I need my name's to it, and it has to reflect how I feel, rather than I know, like, if a gallery sort of told me what would sell or something like that, then I'd be out of there quick smart, or like, you need to evolve as an artist. And
so do you struggle with that sort of the tension between making work that sells and making work that you actually want to make?
Yeah, that is such a layered, it's a layered answer. I guess what I just said, so like always, I think every artist should always honour and respect their path and what they're doing, and their voice, like it comes from a deep place, so you need to really follow that path kind of thing. But yes, you need to make a living, and so I think, sometimes you compromise things, but as long as there's always a challenge in the work, there's no formula, as long as you're pushing, so for me, I guess the way I work with, especially the Bather series, I try to exhaust every narrative or every possibility, so every angle, again, like almost like creating a film, and working in 3D, what does that look like, from the back or the front, or how does the narrative change if this person's included, or how does the viewer sit in this work, do they feel voyeuristic, or do they feel included or excluded, so really, really playing with all those things in your practice, so it's fresh. But yeah, I'm starting new work now, so, it is... it's a little bit scary.
And especially when you've had such a successful series, the Bather series in particular, it must be quite scary sometimes to take yourself out of what you know and what is popular and works well and is well received, to kind of, it's almost like taking a risk, heading off in another direction. Do you find that tricky?
Absolutely, yeah, it is really scary. I think, and it's kind of like... it's kind of like putting a key in a lock and finding another world to paint, and as long as I find that world, then I feel that I'll be okay, and I'm just on the brink of finding it. I'm so sort of exploring stuff now, but if I can see it and feel it, then I can paint it, and if I kind of get the feeling that I want to be in that world, then I don't know, hopefully it works with that I'm sure it would. Maybe other people want to be in that world too.
I think when the artist is feeling it, it's going to come across. And
it translates,
people are going to feel it also, and it's going to feel more authentic.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure people can see when they look at it.
Yeah, I think it definitely gets carried over. Yeah. I mean, if someone's just painting for money, or, something that's going to sell, then... if their soul's not in it, there's a little bit of a deadening. It's not, doesn't quite come through. Yeah.
It's a tricky one though, isn't it? And, what do you do about things like pricing your work? And I mean, that's every artist's nightmare, I think. I mean, probably when you're more experienced and you're connected to a gallery, you have that support from a professional.
Yeah.
But, especially people just starting off, how hard it is to...
Well, I guess when I started off, I'd like to think I was really humble about where I was in my career, and knowing all the people who's gone before me and what their prices are. So I always started off really fair and maybe a little bit under pricing, and I was okay with that. And a lot of people bought my work then, and those same people, as my prices increased, slowly, followed me with those price increases. I was very fortunate with that. Now I kind of work on sort of some series could be different prices. So I kind of mingle it up between the different series and sizes. Yeah. That's just an easy formula for me, because I know that some series sort of take a lot more work, or maybe have more of a demand. And yeah, they're maybe a little bit deeper thinking. Yeah. But with galleries too, I love talking with them about what they think the price should be, and I love that relationship of the knowledge that they know in their own market as well, and tapping into that. And yeah.
I think you can learn a lot from people who are slightly removed from your work as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, it isn't the artist's job to sell their work, and that's
like another skill.
It is. In a way. Like I'd class myself as an independent artist. I have 2 galleries that I work with, Art Form in Matakana and Kina Gallery, Art Space and Design in New Plymouth. And I love the relationships I have with them, but predominantly I am independent. So yeah, you are doing all the marketing, the selling and everything as well, which, can be frustrating when all you want to do is paint. But, yeah, it's rewarding as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's taking that sort of holistic approach in some ways can be a good thing, But it's also good to have the support of great galleries and, people who really know what they're doing in that area, I guess.
I think also just, it's such a solo pursuit that, with my printer and my framer and galleries, it's kind of like they're your colleagues.
Yeah.
So it's really nice
It is nice. And it's nice to have that feedback sometimes.
Yeah.
Or, somebody to bounce ideas off.
Absolutely.
Or somebody comes up with something that hadn't occurred to you.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I mean, I find that running my own business, it's just like, so nice to get somebody else's
as well.
Feedback or opinions or
feel like
ideas.
It's a group project, not just yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. You feel a bit alone sometimes.
Yeah.
So, Tanya, last question. What's in the future for you, do you think, with your work and with your life?
So, like this next body of work, I'm really looking at, again, how the viewer is connected to the work and what they feel. So I'm looking at sort of screens, still based around a pool theme and that slowing down of life, but looking at screens and how, and pools, and I guess that whole privilege, the privilege of maybe having a private pool, the, I guess like the preloaded language that comes with pools. So what I mean by that is, if we think of para rubber pools, we think of accessibility, affordability, backyard children. If we think of a private pool, we think of, sort of it's a privilege, it's sort of a little bit exclusive, and then public pools. So really sort of downloading that language and having a bit of a think about that. And that whole, inclusivity, exclusivity, who's allowed in, who's not, and using screens and barriers and gates as that kind of portal to either looking into a world or looking out of. So that's kind of the body of work that I'm investigating.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. Further afield, I'd really like to sort of stretch my wings a bit more in Australia and further afield art-wise. And, I've always wanted to do residencies. Maybe once my son's a bit older, I can explore that.
In New Zealand or?
Everywhere.
If we can ever travel again.
Yeah, if we can ever leave this country.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah,
it's just
super
a long,
exciting.
I see it as a long journey or career, whatever happens, it's a long path.
And I can see you going on, for the rest of your days.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to finish, I have a few quick Kiwi questions for you.
Yeah.
Don't look nervous.
Holy bowly.
Okay.
Jeepers creepers.
All right, here we go. So it can be one answer or one word answers, or you can expand a bit if you feel like you need to. Okay, here in New Zealand, we love our coffee. How do you have it?
Oh, golly. Now I sound like a geek. I have decaf. You know that.
I know that. Oh, yeah.
I can't handle the real thing.
Yeah, so tell us about your coffee versions.
Oh, no, hey, it's still about the ritual. So, I always have cold pressed decaf. Still, I have plunger just because I haven't got a coffee machine. But, yeah.
What does coffee do to you?
I feel like I'm on drugs or something. I don't need much more stimulation than I've already got,
So is that the reason why you don't?
Yeah. I get palpitations and everything's really heightened. I just don't need it.
You're already on adrenaline.
I am. I already am kind of frothing on this wheel.
Yeah,
so.
which is great. It's free. Okay, pavlova or roast lamb?
Oh, I'll say pavlova because I don't eat red meat and I'm curbing my sweet tooth, but my mother-in-law always used to call me formagenia, which means little ant.
Little ant,
yeah.
As in eating all the sweet stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, cute. That's adorable. Okay, so it's pavlova. Beach or mountain?
Beach. Last time I went to the mountain, it was like Bridget Jones does snowboarding.
All I can think of is Bridget Jones's undies, but I presume you weren't wearing those.
It was pretty unco.
Okay, so beach. North Island or South Island?
Oh, you're going to reveal my most embarrassing secret that I've never been to the South Island.
Are you serious?
Yes, it's so embarrassing. I've been all over the world.
I can't believe that.
It's not through not wanting to.
Yeah.
It's just every time it's thwarted.
Wow.
So yeah, this year, watch out, South Island.
You might
I'm
have
coming.
to borrow our bus.
Yeah, Bridget Jones does Wanaka.
Yep. Okay, I can't wait. All right, East Coast or West Coast?
Oh, I love a bit of both actually. I love the wilderness of the West. But I do love the waves of the East and the white beaches. Yeah, bit of both. Yeah,
it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there somewhere in New Zealand you've always wanted to visit? So I think we know that. It's the South Island.
Yep.
So
yeah,
that's
Nelson.
Yeah.
All the artists there. Something about Otago, like I don't know, or going to a big station. Maybe doing a residency on a station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So to all those landowners out there down south, you know who to call. And finally, what's your favourite place in New Zealand and why? Apart from where you live.
Oh, no.
Anyone who lives in Muriwai is going to say Muriwai.
Yeah, we're all going to say that.
Yeah. So apart from Muriwai.
Okay. Well, New Plymouth holds, special place for me, just having all my whānau there and growing up. But also I love the way they honour arts down there and, fantastic street art, cafe culture, but mixing out with nature and the sea. And I think they've got everything in good equal measure down there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I think, from people who live in Muriwai, it's like New Plymouth has what we have here, but with a little town alongside
like a micro version.
Yeah. So, we're very isolated out here with no facilities really.
Yeah.
Which we love.
We do.
But, yeah, George and I like New Plymouth too.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It is magic.
Just a little bit colder.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, that wraps up our first ever episode of Creative Matters on Air. Thank you so much, Tanya. I've loved talking to you. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, when you have a good friend, you don't always talk about that sort of whole life journey and that creative journey. So it's so great to hear about what you've done and the way you think, and it's been a total pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks so much, Mandy. Thank you so much for having me. It's just been a really great chat and, it's so insightful for me too. To know what your own thoughts are about things, Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks heaps.
Cool.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tanya.
Yeah. Bye.